Everyone, I'll get started in just a few minutes. All right, let's get started. Hope everybody's doing well. Okay, so in this webinar, I'm going to go through and I'm going to show you how to utilize our kind of discovery tools, List Builder and Autopilot, to find the most motivated sellers. So there's a number of different ways to do this, but I'm going to start with the absolute easiest way that you can find the most motivated sellers probably within 5 minutes, and you really don't have to do too much. And then we can go into some of the more complex ways. So if you guys have any questions as I'm going through it, please ask. You can use the Q&A feature or just put it into the chat. That might probably be the easiest way to do it. So just throw it into the chat and I will answer your questions. So let me just see. So can somebody put something right into the chat just to make sure I'm seeing everything? There we go. Thanks, Rob. All right. All right. Okay, so let's get started. So again, I want to go through the autopilot first. And the goal of this webinar is not to just show you how to pull lists. It's to bring the most qualified, most motivated sellers to the absolute very top and show you how you can easily do that with an Invelo. Um, Now, before I get started with this, is everyone, I'm just curious on who, is anybody not an Invelo user that's in here? So if you can just put it in the chat, say not Invelo user yet. Okay, Jacqueline, thank you. Cool. Anyone else? Everybody else is okay, awesome. Perfect. Okay, thank you guys, because this will give me a little bit more help on context. Gina, if you want to, oh, maybe you're just raising your hand saying that you're not an Invelo user. If you have a question, again, just put it into the chat. Okay, cool. So let me just take a step back. Invelo, I've been a real estate investor since 2011. I've done everything from wholesaling, new construction, condo conversions, really high-end new construction, rentals. So I've done a lot of different things. And the reason Invelo was born is because there was no platform that could follow your whole sales cycle through inception of finding a record or a property that you're interested in all the way through closing a deal. And the importance of that is along that journey, you're going to learn insights on how you're operating, how you're finding properties, and what is working and what isn't. That's the most important thing. When you're pulling records from one platform, importing them into your like CRM and managing there, you're losing a lot of data and lists and understanding how many times you're marketing to them or reaching out before they communicate with you. And everything is done, and that's why we created Invelo, because everything is done in one spot. Okay? So let me just make this screen a little bit larger too, because I think my monitor is pretty big. Um, okay, cool. So on the left-hand side, you're going to notice a bunch of different icons. So the two that we're going to mostly go through are these two buttons up here, Autopilot and List Builder. These are your discovery tools. Okay? This is where you find properties. The next three are going to be your database where you manage your records or your properties. Okay? And then we have communication inbox, your contacts database where you can upload buyers, contractors, attorneys that you're working with, marketing campaigns, workflows and automations to make sure that you're not letting leads go untouched, and you can trigger automated follow-ups, you can give yourself task reminders, and then you have analytics. So let's first go through Autopilot because it's the absolute easiest. And we get a lot of people that come into Invelo that are like, hey, I'm new to pulling lists, or even I'm an experienced real estate investor, but I'm scared to pull my own list because I feel like I'm going to be missing something. I'm not pulling it accurately. And we've had many investors that have been doing this for as long as I have. They've used Autopilot and they're getting a ton of deals, and it's working really well because it's very easy. So let me go through this process first, and then I'm going to show you how to go even deeper outside of Autopilot on what you can do. So again, Autopilot, the goal for this, what we created, is basically identifying list stacking, identifying all these different motivating indicators, and pushing the most motivated or people that are most likely to sell to the top for you without you having to pull a bunch of different lists. Like on other platforms, you have to individually create separate lists, and then you have to list stack, which I think most everybody probably is familiar with. If you're not, just let me know. But you have to do a lot of that stuff manually. And who's to say, like, other platforms can give you all the filters in the world, but if you don't know how to use it properly, you could be doing it incorrectly. So the autopilot creates this so much more simply, in which you just need to identify a couple key aspects, and we pull the list and build it for you using those insights that we already know without you having to do anything. Um, okay, so 30 seconds on list stacking. Yeah, so list stacking is basically, the primary example of when people use another platform is they come in and they'll pull an absentee list, driving for dollars list, pre-foreclosure list, right? They pull all these different types of lists. Once you have all those lists that you've pulled into your database, now you're saying, hey, show me only the records that are on like three or more of those lists, right? So you want to find those people that might have a foreclosure, the property is vacant, and there's a tax lien, right? That is a way better lead or prospect than somebody that just owes equity or has equity in their home, right? So records or properties or sellers are not created equal. There is kind of a hierarchy of who is going to be more likely to sell. Okay, hopefully that makes sense, Ben. But let's just go through the autopilot and I'll show you how easy it is. And then we're going to layer on top of that on how you can even find better records. Okay, so we're going to just select let's go. We're going to we give you some options here. Again, we keep it pretty high level to make sure that we don't have to go too deep into the data, whether or not you only want like multifamily 5 to 7 units, right? The goal here is for simplicity. So for me, I would want single family and multifamily 2 to 4. Okay, the next, I'm just going to select a county. So in my area, I'm just going to select Essex County. What we're going to do is we're going to say, okay, of the single family and multifamily 2 to 4, how many properties are there in Essex County? there's 178,000 single family and multifamily properties. So we're giving you some information as you're going along the way, and we're even telling you like if this is a large enough size or geographic area to make sure we're giving you a strong enough pool for you to then go after and start prospecting, right? Because what we don't want to do is you don't want to just have one small little town that you're looking at and we only pull like 200 records for you. That is going to be very hard for you to gain momentum and get deals in the pipeline. I know through experience, and I also have a marketing company. I'm wearing the shirt right now, Open Letter Marketing. We work with thousands and thousands of investors throughout the country, and we know roughly if you want to gain momentum, you're at least marketing or connecting, have a list of about 2,500 good quality records to gain momentum and start to do some consistent deals. Okay, so based on that, we kind of know if your geography is large enough to start with, so you can start honing in on that. Okay. Next, what we're doing is now that we know the geography, we're actually combing through and looking at all these different signs of motivation. So of those 178,000 properties, we've identified there's 65,000 properties with signs of potential motivation. So that's a really good indication that there's 65,000 records or properties or sellers that could potentially want to sell. Now, you can come in here and you can customize these filters further if you want, if you're experienced and you understand what to do here. I'm going to leave them as is because in general, if you're new to this, generally what I like to do is I always customize these filters based on the end product of what I want it to be, of what is going to be selling the easiest in my area. Okay, and that's not for everyone if you have a very unique approach, but this kind of outlines that criteria that's pretty generalized throughout the country. But again, you can come in here and make some adjustments. Okay, so now all that you have is this slider right here. So you can see this slider. If I slide to the left, I can identify of the 65,000 records, how many records do I actually want to pull into my database to start marketing to or start reaching out to, okay? So if I only wanted about, 2,600 or 6,000, right? 5,800 records, I can slide to the left. And what this is doing is we're not just giving you a random sample set of the 65,000. We are giving you the best, the sellers who have the signs of the most motivation, the top 5,800 records. Now, if you have a big organization and you're like, hey, we need a big reach because we do 100 deals plus, then you're going to want to really open this up to maximize your reach because you're still getting qualified, motivated sellers, but you just need a larger population size to keep your business and operation running. But as far as this, I'm just going to kind of hone in on 5,200 records, and now we go through preview. So that's really it. You have three inputs of how to identify and really push all of the highly motivated sellers to the top of your list and we do that automatically. So again, just as a summary, so here are your inputs. Single family, multifamily, Essex County, we started with 178,000 records. We narrowed in, we found 65,000 sellers or properties that have signs of motivation. And we refined our list to 5,200, okay? If we want to, we can add in AI driving for dollars and skip tracing. So this is actually new for those that have been an Invelo user. Skip tracing is now your free skip tracing. You get free monthly skip traces. These do work now in autopilot. They did not work, they were not able to be applied historically, but then now these do work. So I can click on this, no cost, right? It would normally be $313. I'll apply my credit, so it's zero cost. Amazing. Also, we have AI driving for dollars. So what this is going to do is we're going to look at the Google Street View image of every single one of these 5,200 records and identify and look for signs of distress, okay, signals of distress through the Google Street View. So if we want to purchase this, we don't have to, but if we want to purchase it, we would select this and it would be $156 to do all 5,200 records, okay? And then all that I have to do from here, click on Build List. And now we are starting to build the list. So it's going through all these different types of lists that we're pulling and identifying. And we're even showing you some of the properties that are pulling in. Okay, so you literally just built 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think there's 11 different lists. You built it in under, if I wasn't talking so much, under a minute. Okay, so you pulled 11 different lists, and you didn't just pull all 11 different lists, because if you actually pulled these individual lists, you'd probably have about, I'd say maybe 40 to 50,000 records in your database, which you then have to sift and sort through to find your 5,200 records. Okay, so that's the unique aspect. No one else other than Invelo does this for you, and it makes it nice and easy so you are only getting the cream of the crop records into your database. Okay, I'm going to click on Done. Awesome. And now I'm going to go into my prospects database. Okay, these are where all the records flow into. And just to mention, I mentioned before, this is where you manage your records. Okay, we have 3 different unique databases: prospects, leads, and deals. Again, this is what Invelo does a little uniquely to any other platform. Prospects are those people that you want to get in touch with to buy their property, right? So prospects, you're going to be doing a lot of outreach, a lot of marketing. Okay, so we separate that. Your leads are those people that raise their hand and say, hey, I'm interested in selling, let's have a conversation. That's where you're going to be managing your leads and your sales outreach back out to them to help push them through deals. So if I go to prospects, you'll notice it's much more of a list style view that you're going to be combing through, sifting, sorting, marketing to them, reaching out. And your leads are going to be more of a Kanban style view where you can drag and drop and bring them through. You can always get to the list view if you wanted to kind of really look at all of your records. And then the final one is deals. So these are the properties that you purchased, or you have under agreement and you're wholesaling, or you're buying for rental. Okay, so you can manage your deals in this section. Okay, so we break them out to 3 distinct views because these are the 3 core components of your operation, and you likely want to see and use different elements throughout that process. Okay, let me go to some questions. See, Gina raised her hand. Gina, if you can just put the question inside the chat, that would be great. Is there a way to pull probate, pre-probate as well? Todd, there is not currently for probate, pre-probate. Are there good descriptions on the various categories list to understand what they mean? Yes. So Ben, as far as that, let me go through. So the records are starting to load into the prospects database. But before I go into this, let me actually jump over to the list builder. The list builder is the other way that you can build a list, and you can do it more manual. This is a manual way to build your list, which is still great. Because if you know exactly, if you're an experienced investor or you have a very specific asset type that you want to go after, the list builder is a way that you can really hone in on exactly what you're looking for. So let me just go through a couple of things here. Can we view the real-time Firefly tour? I'm not using Firefly. I'm not sure who's using the Firefly notes, but I don't think we get the real-time. But after this is all recorded, we will send out the recording to all of you so you have access to the replay. Okay, so let's go through this. Again, I'm just going to show you, I'm pulling in Essex County. And back to the question um, that Ben had, are there good descriptions on the various categories? So we use the term indicators. And indicators are ways to identify motivation or different reasons that you might want to pull a list. So if you remember, when we pulled from the autopilot, we said we were going through like absentee owners, auctions, all these different types. Here are all the examples and descriptions of exactly what this means. Okay, so you can go through here if you want to pull them individually to identify all of the ways that we're pulling these lists. Okay, so a very easy way, cool, glad you got it, Ben. All right, so if I wanted to come in here and just quickly say, okay, I want vacant properties in this county, and then I just want single families, 1,200 records. Like that's pretty much how easy it is to pull. And then on the right-hand side, you can see that even though I just wanted vacant properties, this one here, it's off market, absentee owner, out of state owner. If I click on here, tired landlord, unknown equity, vacant, right? There's all these different other indicators on this one particular record. And if I click on the record, now I can take a look and get a little bit more information. Okay, so the house seems to be in pretty good condition. This is in Salisbury, so this is probably a rental property, is my guess. Um, but you have all the information about the property. You can go through, look at some owner information, all the loan details. We have information for loans 1, 2, 3, 4. I think we have up to 4 loans. That is new data that we got into Invelo in the last couple of last month or so. Sale transfer data, and I can run comps. So we already identify similar properties in the area, and we can identify those. So you can see, estimated market value 715, average sale price in the area or price per square foot is 494. Okay. I love average days on market. That's always something that I always look at when I'm running comps, especially in this market. We can go through comp strategy in another call or another meeting, but talking about comps and not just looking at sold data, but also trending data, especially in shifting markets, super, super valuable and important. But you have access to all this information here. If I wanted to go deeper and say, hey, you know what? I don't want any vacant properties that maybe transferred or sold within the last 15 years or so, or where the owner has owned it for more than 10 years. So again, if you click on filters, you can really now get into the nitty gritty. And we have this broken out by different sections. So you can see like year built. So let's just say I don't want anything newer than 1900, or sorry, 1990. Okay. And then if I go down to here, ownership, I want to take a look and I say years of ownership, 10 to, max as many. Keep going farther back. Actually, I want to do 15 years. Okay, let me apply this and see if we get any properties here. Okay, 335. So we just went down to 335. So now I go to filters, applied filters. Now we have single family, 1990 to 1900 to 1990. Years of ownership are 15 years plus, and vacant properties. Okay, so this is a pretty good list for me right now. So again, I can go through and get some information. I can zoom in on the map, figure this out, and then I can just basically select all and import the records. Now, when I import all records, this is another key nice feature of Invelo that we just do this for you. If you're importing these records, how many times, and maybe you haven't pulled lists before, but you generally have to refresh lists often, depending on what type of list that you're pulling. So for instance, today there might be 335 properties that meet this criteria of what I just identified. But in 6 months from now, there could be 50 or 100 more properties that meet this criteria. So normally, if you're using a platform, you can pull lists, but you have to consistently pull and refresh your lists all the time, right? And you're continuously doing that because you want to make sure you're identifying those people that meet the criteria. With Invelo, we just kind of do that for you. So um, not everybody wants this on kind of unique lists, but this auto ad, if you click on that auto ad and click on confirm, we are going to save this this filter set for you that you have, and we're going to automatically bring records into your prospects database anytime they meet this criteria. And we update information daily. So every single day, you literally could get new data flowing into your system. And why that is so important, and this goes to pulling the best quality prospects, is because right now, more than ever, speed to sellers is the most critical aspect in right now. Most critical aspect. And that's where most people are getting more of their deals is immediately going to sellers when a key issue or circumstances has happened. Okay, I'm not going to click confirm. I'm just going to click on cancel because I want to show you one other thing where this whole process that I told you about is critical. So if I just change this from vacant and I go up here to pre-foreclosure and I apply this, we have 67 records. Let me go into my filter. I don't care about years of ownership because if it's in pre-foreclosure, they have a need to sell, right? I don't need that filter anymore. Um, maybe I don't want year built. I don't really care about that because if they have a need, there's a potential for them to sell under market value. They have 164 properties right now that are in pre-foreclosure. Now, if I set this up, again, select all, import, and set up this auto ad. Now, anytime somebody goes into pre-foreclosure, I am literally getting that information pulled into my database immediately. Okay, that is where, even though we're not specifically talking about filters on how to like sift and sort into the filter to pull the best record, speed of data is the name of the game today. It is 100% the name of the game. Speed to data. So if I clicked on confirm, all these records will get imported, and every single day, if a new record comes in, it would go to my prospects database. Okay. I'm just going to click on cancel because I'm already getting this pre-foreclosure data with autopilot. We've already pulled it. Okay. Any questions on the list builder? What triggers your pre-foreclosure label? So if we go into search and we have foreclosure here. So it's basically any property that has an active foreclosure on it right now. So if it goes into Liz Pendens, auction, anything like that, anywhere we've identified that a recording has happened in the registry of deeds or whatever your county or municipality calls it, but we pull that information, and anytime there's a recording of a pre-foreclosure, we're pulling that in. Now, here's the trick, and this is going to happen no matter with Invelo or anybody else. And this is getting a little bit more into the details. If you're new, you don't need to worry about this, but if you really understand pre-foreclosures, we could absolutely have a record in here that we say it's a pre-foreclosure, but you could find out that, hey, wait a second, this person I talked to, they said they're not in pre-foreclosure anymore. That could very well happen. The reason why it happens is because a lot of times banks do not provide the discharge to the pre-foreclosure and have that recorded, or there's a huge delay in the recording. And if we don't, and if that recording isn't submitted to the registry of deeds, no one knows that the foreclosure got released. Okay? So that is kind of just a very nuanced piece of whatever data that you're looking at. You really need to understand that, don't be surprised if somebody's like, hey, I'm not in pre-foreclosure. It doesn't happen often, but that is a reason why it would happen. Um, let me see if you select multiple indicators. Great question, Chris. It is an and. So Chris just asked if you selected multiple. So if I said pre-foreclosure and absentee own, it's an and function, not or function. So we are essentially stacking, list stacking right here in our database live with even deeper filters, exactly what we want. So now we only show 9 properties. Okay, so again, we're getting down to the depth of pre-foreclosure absentee owned. We have 9 properties. Like, this is an amazing list. This person, 91% estimated equity. Like, that's amazing. And the house looks really distressed. High equity, pre-foreclosure, absentee owner, tired landlord. Um, let's see, loan amount 50,000, estimated equity. Loan recording date. I mean, interesting. This is it's pretty good. This is a pretty good record. Um, sorry, I'm just kind of like looking through this. I'm like, man, if anybody's local, take the address. That's a pretty nice one. Um, okay, so everybody understands kind of the process. Any questions with the list builder? Any questions before I move on to the prospects database? Yes, it does give auction date. So this one here has auction. Let's take a look. Foreclosure. Auction date 1/15, 2026. So that's a little bit older, but again, there was no, the last indication of this one was notice of foreclosure, and we still provide you with the auction date. Okay, auction time, 10 a.m. They didn't provide a location or city, but we will pull that in if we have that information, and we would even pull in the opening bid if we had that. Yes. So is there an auction date filter? Auction date right here. So, I mean, we have such, let me take off, just going to do this on the fly. Let's go into this foreclosure. Let's look at today. Let's see if we have anything in the future. And just to make sure that we're not crossing over different filters, let me just only put that in. So there's nothing current that's in the future in my area. Um, Foreclosure 2026. Property type. Let's take a look. So we don't have any properties right now that where there is a near term um, foreclosure. Just go back here. So we have 22 properties. They're all passed. So I'm wondering if in Massachusetts it only provides you with information um, after the fact. That I'm not sure about. I know there's definitely future ones because I've pulled them in the past. 119. So in any case, I'm not sure if we want to, Jacqueline, if you want to provide your area and I can try your area to see if they give future dates on those. When the auto updater finds new ads, how does the user know it's happening? Good question. Okay, New London, London County. So good question. One, you get an email, and then two, see under these 3 buttons, actions, bulk action. So you're going to have property updates right here. These are all the new records that have come into your system. Okay. And when they come into your system, they're still going to be tagged like they or identified how they normally are. So when they come through here, you can basically look at your created date and the list that they're coming through to pull those records. But let me just go back through the list builder. Let me pull New London. I hate this. New London County. So 11 properties that we have. Here's apply. Yeah, so we have 11 properties in your county. Where we have foreclosure dates on it. And again, I don't know if your um, area identifies the date of the foreclosure, but let me just update this. I want to see if it's future dates. So there's 0 properties of future dates. I'll take a look at that. But from what I've seen in my area, a lot of times they don't provide the date until close to the auction, because it will go into pre-foreclosure, and then there's a foreclosure notice, and there's a notice of sale. Um, so I'll go through that afterwards, and I can follow up with you guys to let you know if there's a cleaner way to do that. Any other questions before I move on from the list builder? Let me clear out these. Okay. All right. So now we're in the prospects database. So this is where, right, the first step was to pull lists. And again, I showed you how easy it was with the autopilot, and I showed you how detailed you can get with the list builder. But now it comes together in prospects. And this is where most systems, or most all systems, get it wrong. And a lot of users don't understand the capabilities or the power behind being able to sift and sort through your records to, again, I have 55,000 properties in my database. I do not want to market to all of them, and neither should I market to them equally, right? There's probably going to be a lot of people in here, a lot of records in here where maybe they just own equity um, in their property, and that's really it. So to be able to sift and sort and play around with different indicators, we're going to rise the best to the top. Okay. You can see here list count we have makes it very easy. If I click on this button, I'm going to just organize. And this is how many, the number of lists that this record is on. Okay. So you can see this record is on 6 different lists. Now let me click on filter. I'm clicking on filter over here because we're going to filter this a little bit. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to use tag. Tag is any of. When we create an autopilot for you, we tag all the records that come into your database with the name autopilot and then the date. Okay, so today is 3/5. So we had 5,200 records that came into the database. Okay, and now as you remember, I did driving for dollars. So now if I come in here and say, okay, of the 5,200 records, here's all my best records. So before I even do that, let me just show you. So I'm going to apply. So if I click on one of these records, you can see this, they're on 5 different lists. If I click on property, that's a pretty bad looking property. They're on AI driving for dollars, high equity, pre-foreclosure, tax delinquent, and vacant. Again, if you're local, just call this property or reach out to them. That's a great address. But again, you can get all the key information here. Um, you can skip trace this record. So again, we have, oh, I already skip trace it, but you have all the phone numbers, email addresses for this person. You can pull comps, analyze the property through our profit analyzer and get all your deal metrics. So there's a lot of things that you can do in here, but I just wanted to give you a sample of what one of these types of properties looks like. Okay, this is actually an active, shows that it's an active property. Recently sold. Interesting. Oh, okay. So let's come over here. So, okay, let's go through here. If we want to, then you have 5,200 records, right? We just pulled. If you want to go even deeper to these, again, I mentioned we did driving for dollars. So if I use AI driving for dollars, distress score is greater than, so there's a range that we identify distress of a property visually, 1 to 100, 100 being in worse condition. So if I said I want to see all the autopilot and I want to see all the properties that have a 70 or above distress score. Now I just took my 5,200 records to 151 records. And now let's just say, okay, hey, you know what? I want to actually remove, let's see, last sale date, uh, or ownership. So here's where if I wanted to scrub out like that one just sold, I'm actually wondering if I went back to it, if it was even recorded on the assessor yet, or if it just sold on the MLS. But I can even scrub out years of ownership, so I can remove properties. Um, I could even go in, and again, we have, there's ownership MLS, right? So if I wanted to scrub out anything that's currently on the MLS, I can scrub those out, but you necessarily don't want to do that. Even if they're on the MLS, you very well may want to go after and talk to the agent or still the homeowner. Okay, so I'm going to remove this, but there is a way to scrub those out. But I'm just going to leave it as this. Again, autopilot greater than 70. Apply. 151 records. This is probably the top best records that you can go after today. Okay, so this is 51 properties that I want to talk to today. Again, the 24 Railroad Street is on this list, which again, it's in really rough shape. It has a score of a 73. Okay, next property, if I go down, again, I click on this one, property, another distressed property. Okay, all these indicators go down, score of 71. So again, this is just a very this is a very easy filter, but you can start seeing the power that filters can have. So I could also go down, and if I wanted to say, maybe I want to change this to 80. Say, hey, I just want to go after, the ones a bit 80 and above. Now I have 14 records. Okay. So this is a very easy way to sift and sort and bring those best records. The other thing that you can do going back into you can also save these filters. So if you wanted to save a filter, let me go back and say, let's do list is, so list is any of pre-foreclosure. And then let's just say create a date is less than like 5 days. So what I'm saying here is like any new pre-foreclosure that comes into my database within the last 5 days, it's going to come into this filter. So I could save this filter and I could get a notification every time new records come into here, right? We could set up a workflow and just say, hey, anytime there's a new pre-foreclosure, create a task or let me know so that you're right on top of it. To take this a step further, which we're not going to really get into today, because I really just wanted to focus on how to identify your most motivated sellers, you can actually create marketing campaigns that will can be automated. So as new records flow into your prospects database, you can automate the marketing or direct mail or anything that you want being sent out to these records. So as soon as a new pre-foreclosure comes into your prospects database, you have marketing going out the door. And that's what we're talking about speed, is because there's no other platform that's as quick and as can execute as quickly as we can in getting mail or marketing out the door. Um, so again, if we go into saved filters, some of the other things that you can notice, we do have Invelo presets. So we do, when you set up your Invelo account, we automatically have certain presets that are already created. And I should mention that when a property does sell, and we've identified that it does sell, it will have a lost, it will go into a lost status. So if I come in here and I say is lost I'm going to say is yes. So of my 55,000 records, 2,100 records are lost. Lost meaning either they sold. So if they sell, we automatically identify that they sell, mark them as lost. Or if you identify that you manually mark them as lost. Okay. So if I go into this one record here, it's marked as lost sold. That was an automation with an Invelo because we identify that and we automatically move it to lost. So if this record was on a marketing campaign, it would automatically get kicked off of the campaign because it already sold. Okay, but you can mark a record for being lost for any reason. If they said, "Don't ever market to me. I don't want to sell. I'm not going to sell to you," anything like that, and you can scrub those out of your lists. Let me go back to the Q&A. Um, we also cover what we do with these lists, like how do we leverage these lists. I'll talk about that in a minute. Also, right, filter for auction date. Okay, Ben, I missed your question that you had before. Will you cover what we need to do with these lists? Like, how do we leverage these lists? If you like, I'd want to ask you a couple more questions, but if you are newer to pulling lists going off market, honestly, you can have just as much, if not more success just using autopilot and not even going into the list builder. We have a lot of, as I mentioned before, we have a lot of long-time investors that they were pulling their own lists and then they started using autopilot and they've been getting a ton of deals that they're just literally doing autopilot. And it almost feels too easy and people feel uncomfortable. Like they almost feel like it needs to be more difficult for them to have really good results. But the way that we set up autopilot, and it's a very strange thing to be on the other side of it, knowing how much we've done on the back end of autopilot. Now we're seeing that some people, it's too easy that they think it should be more difficult for them to get good results. But we've just seen time and time again with many investors that are using autopilot, they're getting great results. So Ben, if you're new to this, just use autopilot and literally go in, pull the autopilot with the number of records that you want. Again, I'd recommend a minimum of 2,500 records into your database and start going after, reaching out to them. Either and you can do that with an Invelo. I'm not going to discuss it in this one here, but if I selected a couple records, you can see I can send mail. I can trigger mail like immediately, like a one-off mail piece, confirm, and it sends off. or I can throw them into a dialer session and start calling people. Okay. So you have a bunch of different ways to even do that next step in Invelo once you do pull these lists. Um, you did show what to do. It's very interesting and appealing. Thank you. Okay. Any questions that anybody has from anything that I've gone through? As far as like, hey, I wanted to see if you specifically had this feature or functionality, or how do I do X, Y, and Z? Because what I find is like a lot of people learn things from other people, and it might not necessarily be the way that we do things in Envelo, or there is just a better way to do something that I'm happy to provide you with that information. Can you automatically send postcards for these prospects? Yes, absolutely. So you can either, there's a couple of different ways. So you can just manually select the records that you want, and you can send postcard to them. So that's one way to do it. The other way, just show off the styler session. The other way is you can set up a mailing campaign that automates it all for you. Okay, so if we came into the a campaign, and again, I mentioned before, I don't want to go too deep into this, but you can come into here and say, hey, for if you've created a filter that's like all new prospects, all new pre-foreclosures, and you created that filter like I teed up before, you can just select it and then click on this button, enroll records when they meet this criteria in the future. And that will trigger marketing for the records that meet the criteria today and records that meet the criteria in the future. So it automates everything, and you can create as many sequences and steps as you want of what to send them through. And now we even have goals. So this is again new, and this is pretty amazing that now you can say, okay, if this property became a lead, or we had communication, there's been communication activity with this record, kick them off of this marketing campaign because now I'm talking to them, or they convert it to a lead. Okay, so even if you have like 10 different direct mail pieces and you're like, well, what if I talk to them on step two? They automatically get removed, so you don't have to waste your money and spend the money on it. So again, these are all the different powerful features of Envelo. We have tons of features, but I just want to keep it easy. If you're new to investing, all you have to do is run the autopilot. Again, it takes 5 minutes to run it, skip tracer records. You can even use driving for dollars. And then I showed you how to filter, and you are literally calling or sending direct mail to them within 5 minutes. And that's just the first step. And our team does work with you. You have an onboarding call when you sign up for Envelo. You want to take advantage of that because we don't just say, here's how to use the platform. This is what you do. It's what is your investment strategy? What are you looking to do? Okay, here's how we would recommend that you set up your Envelo platform where you're going to get the most out of it, and you will see success. So that's really important. Are there any CRM features that includes calls made, notes on properties, reminders to? Oh yeah, Daniel, good question. Yes. So um, in a record, if I click on this record right here, I can take notes, right? I can create tasks. We have an integration with other calling platforms. So if you want to do one-on-one calls and one-on-one text messages, you can even set up your email account so that you can send emails. You can save files on here. When you use the dialer or one of the phone systems that's integrated into us, we will track all the communication. So actually, I have had communication with this person. So we track all the phone numbers, we track the call recordings, and then you can even see if you use the dialer, you have AI summaries. So you have here's the summary of the call. Okay. Quality score, conversation sentiment, agent performance score. Here's the recording, and here's the transcript. You get everything right here for you. To go into the dialer, somebody asked me can you go to the dialer a little bit more? So let me just filter primary phone. So I'm just going to say primary phone is known. And now I'm just going to select like two records. Okay, I'm going to select call. So now I only selected two records, but there's what we do in the background, and we can scrub out DNC phone numbers, people that are litigators. We can do a lot of stuff through settings in the background. But based on that, we scrub and review all that information, and we provide you with local presence numbers. So if it's a 978 number, we're going to look for a 978 number for you to call out of, because people that see a local phone number are going to be more likely to answer that call. Um, when you're in a call session, you can see here's the person's information, here's the property. You have some information about the property. I can click and go into the property record, right? And this still lives and can move around. You have your call script. If you have multiple call scripts, you can select them. And you have different actions. I can call right here. If I click on this queue, see one of four numbers. So there were 8 numbers between these two records, but we scrubbed out 4. And if I go to skipped, right, it says why they were excluded. Phone is marked DNC. You can remove this exclusion. If you wanted to call people with DNC, you can remove the exclusion. But we tell you why we did that. Okay, and then after every call, we ask you, how did the call go? And based on what you selected, you can now identify or look at the stats of how your call session has been going. Okay, you can see who's in queue. You can skip a record if it's coming up. So there's a lot of different things. And then back over here in your inbox, under dialer, you can go back historically and look at all of your dialer sessions, or I don't have any team members on here, your team members' dialer sessions. Okay, so you can get to all that. How does it populate the call stats, or do you do it manually? Call stats. So the call stats, again, I think you're meaning the call, oop, I just ended the session, but the call stats with like positive, neutral, negative. At the end of every call, you are identifying like how the call went. And it said like hot lead, warm lead, like they're interested or don't call. And based on that, that's how we're identifying that information. But other than that, we're calculating your call time, how many connected calls that you have. It's all done in the background. And there's automations that happen when you have a call result. If you said they're interested or it's a hot lead, there's automations and settings that you can create that will do different things in your system. So that property can get pushed to a lead automatically and have the lead temperature as high or hot. And it can create a task. It can do a lot of different really cool things. Okay, it's 1:58. I know we're going till 2, and I still want to we got to do the giveaway. So what I would like to do is, let me see the easiest way. What if you can just put a thumbs up or any type of emoji in the chat, and then I'm going to have Jacob, who's also on this call, take everybody's name, throw it into ChatGPT, and automatically select a person from this. So again, just throw an emoji in there if you want to get into it. And what we're going to do is 3 free months. So if you're on a current plan, you get 3 free months. If you're a new person, if you're new to Invelo, we'll give you 3 free months. Okay. And again, just to go through, so everybody has an understanding that who's not currently in Invelo, you can sign up for a yearly or a monthly plan. We range from $99 to $349. The prospecting plan gets you everything, pretty much what we covered. It gets you the autopilot, list builder, prospects database, and marketing. Okay, so it's really focused on only prospecting to get you leads in the door. Okay, If you want full CRM capabilities and functionality that include leads, deals, workflows, and all of our analytics, that would be either the growth plan or professional plan, depending on how many records you want in your database, how many users, that sort of stuff. The dialer is in the prospecting database as well. Ben, good question. BP Pro members, there's no more free account with them. You get a discounted price off of any of our paid plans. So Bigger Pockets and I, like, we're going through and seeing if we can refine this a little bit more. We're in discussions on how we can do this and go back to potentially a free or low cost plan. But right now, what we have with them is you get 25% off any one of these plans, and you get full access to all of the features. So autopilot is no additional cost unless you're going to do the AI driving for dollars. Um, oh, look at that. So we just got, thank you, Jacob. So the winner is Connor. So Connor, you are the winner. Um, so congratulations. Is sending postcards in the prospecting plan? Yes, it is, Diane. So that is in our prospecting plan. But if you guys have any questions, again, we are going to send you out an email um, with the recording. But if you have any questions at all, reply to the email that you received, or actually, you know what? Just email me directly if you have any questions or you want me to connect you with kind of our one of our investor specialists that can help you out if you're new to Invelo. But you can email me at justin@inveloapp.com. Very easy. So I'll just throw it up here. Justin@Invelo. Oh my God, if I can spell. Okay, and it's already pulling me up here. So feel free to just shoot me an email if you have any questions or want to get connected to see how you can, sign up. But that is everything. Again, you can see Invelo has a ton of features and functionality. You can get as sophisticated as you want. And some of our long-time investors that have many, many team members, they want sophistication. But when you're starting, when you're new, keep it simple. Keeping it simple, using autopilot, and using the prospects database, that's all that you need to start and be successful. That's really how easy it is. All right, any other questions before we jump off? Excellent. Again, we're going to be doing these webinars more often. We're going to have a recurring schedule. So look out for future emails on new webinars, but you will get an email after this webinar, probably tomorrow, with the recording and the link to get to the recording. All right, everyone. Enjoy your Thursday, and thank you so much for joining.